our system has fundamentally prioritized everyone but the United States. And so when everyone on this side of things has come out relatively united and said, the American economy serves everyone but America, and we should reorient our focus of putting Americans first, that's a good message. I'm not concerned that AI is going to fall behind. One, because the military is way too invested in that. And two, most of the H-1B visas and our best people that we invite over to come and work there are probably not the people I'm concerned about. I will be if they start handing over that stuff to, foreign countries and foreign powers. All the more reason to have, a greater, security look at all of those issues. But everyone is focused on the fact that even the lowest level jobs or even the entry level positions, when you've lost Fox News to say that like 80% of these jobs are going to middle management or entry or lower level employment jobs, then we have fundamentally screwed the American people over. And for someone like Elon Musk, who has been around on this earth long enough to know what South Africa looked like before the Rainbow Nation took over, then he should have a pretty good idea that if that happens to the United States, if that happens to the one place that has been the most gracious host for him, he could show a little gratitude. And unfortunately, there's not one person in government, it seems right now, who wants to make that point. You are a guest. That does not permit you to walk all over the people who have fought and bled and lived here before you got here. The people who have witnessed their homes get overpriced or they can no longer afford property taxes because we're building a new tech center. We're building new housing because the cities have gotten so expensive because we keep bringing more people in. You mentioned the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. That's a really good example. The roads are always under construction. It's just like someone who is an addict, where it's just like, if I have one more lane, all of my infrastructure problems will be fixed. No, they won't, because the city has an infrastructure for a city that has way too many millions of people that are there for what we have. Now, that could be fixed, obviously, but it does come to show that between bringing people in from California, which is fine, they usually vote conservative. They helped Ted Cruz get reelected in 2018. That we have prioritized everyone but the United States. And at this point, I think that the voter base, the 70 some odd million Americans that had voted for him, are ready to see these issues actually addressed. Because if not, all that we're going to see are more ordeals of civility over the subcontinent. We're going to see more intellectual property theft be taken over to foreign competitors. And we are going to watch the Republican Party, which has always been a beautiful loser, but be even more of a beautiful loser as it helps sell the country away through the Great Replacement under the guise of free trade, economic growth, and an increase to the American GDP and consumer purchasing power.
Yeah, I just feel like we deserve a better quality of Gilded Age robber barons. Like Carnegie was born in Scotland, I'm pretty sure, and he came over, and then yes, he made a ton of money. People might have issues with how he did that, but ultimately he ended up plowing just infinite amount of his own cash back into the country, building schools, building libraries, building churches, building all these institutions. Now, sadly, his fortune haunts us like a ghost moving across the graveyard in the Carnegie Foundation, but Ford Foundation, many such cases. The point is, ultimately, we used to have this understanding where even if a billionaire came from somewhere else, they understood that they had made their money on the backs of the American people, and now they owed them something. They were going to reinvest in those people, and Musk just seems fundamentally to not care in that way. But speaking of people who are ungrateful to the United States, Vivek Ramaswamy is currently falling behind in his race for the Ohio governorship. Now, Ohio is a state that the Republicans should win walking away. And now Vivek is there. And of course, Vivek has kept all of the positions he had previously, all the mainstream conservative, type positions, talk radio conservative positions you would have expected from kind of a economic, conservative 10 years ago. And he has, despite speaking the language that a lot of kind of boomers speak on this issues, he's managed to lose a large amount of support. And one of the things that they're really hitting him on is the fact that he insulted Americans. His opponent, is it Amy Acton? She was actually directly hitting him from the right on this issue, saying, you said Americans aren't talented. You said Americans are lazy. You said our culture sucks. Like, she's all but saying, hey, you know, we're deporting you, denaturalizing. Like, she's one step away from that. So when when Democrats are outflanking you on immigration because you're so weak and so obvious on this, it's funny because a lot of, you know, again, a lot of boomers were really excited about Vivek. He says all the right things. He wants to end all these taxes and regulations. And don't we love that, folks? And all of, you know, you and me were just kind of doing the, you know, Breaking Bad screaming in the car meme. Like, just, no, don't do this. You don't understand. Like, I understand. You're blind to what's happening here, but it's going to be bad. And now they put him in this position that should have been a shoe-in, right? And he is blowing the lead. Like, he's falling behind a Democrat in this scenario, specifically because she's hitting him on the H-1B issue, on the immigration issue. And if Republicans can't put people in who are good on this issue, if they can't win on the marquee issue of the MAGA coalition, then what are we doing here? Like, this is just kind of insane. Like, at some point you have to recognize it's not just about his bromides of talking about the free market. Vivek is a bad candidate because he doesn't like Americans, and it's obvious. And even a Democrat is willing to exploit that when it comes down to the race.
Yeah, and this is going to be the strategy, I think, that a lot of Democrats will take advantage of, because while they've clearly ignored their whole ability to take the plank out of their own eye, you know, that conversation about how do we win young men back, like, they're probably going to have a way to do so through calling out immigration, because,
yeah,
I mean, let's be very clear. Amy Acton is going to say these things. If she gets elected, it does not matter. She will say the right things to win it, and then she will vote to the left of Mao, Stalin, and everyone else.
Betray you immediately,
just
100%.
like a good Democrat will. So for all intents and purposes, Amy Acton is lying to you, and she is doing this for the campaign. Is it rhetorically smart? Absolutely. But reminder, she's a leftist. She will run Ohio into the ground if she's elected. Same could probably be said for Vivek Ramaswamy. And it is just as tragic that the Republican Party and the Trump and the GOP and the TPUSA chapter in Ohio have gone behind him, and there's not someone who can, you know, better represent Ohio to take the place. And when he announced that he was running, or that people wanted to take JD Vance's Senate spot, who should go, I had argued with individuals like Jeremy Carl, who's a great friend to both of us and a great friend to the administration, that, you know, maybe we shouldn't have Vivek in there, and that this would not be in our interest, either for the Senate seat or for the governorship. And unfortunately, this is where we're at. And the GOP has a really nasty tendency to go for, and this is why they're such beautiful losers, because they will pursue diversity, equity, and inclusion for everyone but their voter base. We saw this in the 2020 special elections in the Senate, where we thought, hey, let's have this guy go in there. We saw this in, I think it was in North Carolina against Roy Cooper, the African-American gentleman who had sort of a crazy online history that makes me blush, and that's saying something. And also, of course, most recently with the election in Virginia for the gubernatorial election, that we had someone who was so just this, you know, wonderful, for lack of a better term, just a diversity hire of a candidate talking about, you know, Juneteenth and things like that on her Twitter timeline, that she didn't really speak to the issues that mattered to Virginians in the way that got Glenn Youngkin elected the first time. And so it really does come to show that the Republican Party will target and go for anyone but the kind of people that would actually stand up for American interests. We need more, you know, Eric Schmitz in the Senate and in every governor, you know, mansion in America than I do anyone like Vivek Ramaswamy or Amy Acton or even Greg Abbott, for that matter. And Greg Abbott's just recently run or announced his desire to run for another term. So I certainly hope that he's primaried from the right. But it does go to show that the Republican Party will happily sacrifice its base and its own nation on the altar of diversity and looking good to win these cool points for left-wing and liberal approval than it is to stand up for the people that have been torn apart by fentanyl, that has been made overseas and brought in through drug cartels in the United States, that has watched its manufacturing centers become completely deindustrialized, and where, and I don't know how this is relatable for you, Auron, but I've been to too many funerals in my lifetime, and I turn 30 next month, and it's incredibly frustrating to know that, you know, America has been effectively hollowed out, not just by drugs, but by international trade, and that this is what I'm told to vote for, is someone that is just the same guy on the other side of the ticket, who just says the right things and basically has the Black Rifle Coffee brand of conservatism and doesn't actually stand for what America needs at the moment. And I think that that's really the big frustrating part about this entire messaging and media fumble is that all of the goodwill and all of the good things that the administration has done in a very short amount of time has been sort of left to squander when their best advocate and interlocutor was shot in cold blood in open daylight for all of us to see. There are still numerous questions about what the FBI has done. And let's not even forget that the president had, 2 assassination attempts on him in last year. And so I think that it becomes really important that for all these fights and squabbles that people want to have over the Heritage Foundation or Tucker Carlson or all these inquisitions over, is my Christianity going to be a problem in the Republican or right-wing think tank sphere, that there are much bigger issues at hand. And it is about the existential crisis of whether or not America as we know it gets to survive. Pat Buchanan was a prophet when he said, will America survive to 2025? I don't know. We've got a little more than a month and a half to go, and I guess we'll find out. But a lot of work needs to be done.
Yeah, getting right over that finish line.